Michigan held its primary election last night. Both Republican and Democratic primaries took place last night. Let's start with the results of the Michigan primary, where Donald Trump very easily won. Now, it's important to know that in Michigan specifically, Michigan has 55 delegates for the Republicans. Only 16 depend on who wins the primary. The rest will be decided at the state convention next week, or Saturday, I guess it's going to be. So with regard to the 16 delegates that were up last night, Donald Trump secured 12 of the 16 delegates with a absolutely massive win over Nikki Haley. Trump coming in with 68% of the vote and Nikki Haley close to 27%. A few people voting uncommitted or for Ron DeSantis, Chris Christie, Vivek Ramaswamy, Ryan Binkley, and Asa Hutchinson even getting 1,000 votes. But in the end, nobody can touch Donald Trump, who got 68% of the vote. In terms of delegates so far, okay, right now, Trump has 122 delegates and Nikki Haley has 24. Ron DeSantis, who has ended his campaign, has suspended his campaign, has 9. Vivek Ramaswamy has 3. So mathematically here, there are two stories. Story number one, there are more than 2,400 delegates available. When Trump has 122, that is nowhere near enough to secure his victory. And by that assessment, Nikki Haley is right in this thing. The counterpoint is Nikki Haley has no path to winning even a single state based on the polling. And if that's the case, she has no mathematical case to stay in the race. However, she is staying in because of the unique circumstances in which Trump may end up dead or in prison by November. And Nikki Haley wants to be there. Now, whether the MAGA-led RNC would choose Nikki Haley if Trump failed to be the nominee for whatever reason, I don't actually know the answer. Here is NBC calling these races right at 9 p.m. Eastern last night.
At this time, NBC News projects that Donald Trump will win the Michigan Republican primary. That is our election projection. Donald Trump, the projected winner of the Michigan primary. NBC News can also now project that President Joe Biden will win the Michigan Democratic primary. Again, Joe Biden.
All right, now let's talk about the Democratic primary a little bit. There was a movement. I would say that the movement in Michigan to vote against Biden in the primary to show displeasure at his handling of the Israeli-Gaza situation, which I find the wording a little weird because it's like Biden's the president of the United States. So I guess what they mean is Biden's reaction to Benjamin Netanyahu's handling. But regardless, there was a movement in Michigan specifically to voice displeasure at Biden's handling of the Israeli-Gaza situation by voting uncommitted. And what we saw last night is that Joe Biden ended up with 81% of the primary vote. Uncommitted came in at 13%. Marianne Williamson 3.0 and Dean Phillips 2.7. So here's my thought on this. As long as the folks voting uncommitted in Michigan understand that if you're voting uncommitted because you're displeased with Biden on Gaza, you would be way more displeased with Trump on Gaza. And therefore, in November, you're still planning to vote for Joe Biden. I have no problem with this whatsoever. Vote whatever it is that you believe is in line with your values and your opinion. Fantastic. You want to send a message to Biden that you're not happy, so you vote uncommitted in the primary, recognizing that Trump winning in November would be even worse for the cause you claim to care about. I do think it's important not to overstate this 13% uncommitted. One of the things about last night's primary in Michigan is that the Democratic primary turnout was about half of what it was in 2020. Back in 2020, the Democratic primary in Michigan saw 1.6 million votes. Last night, we had not even 800,000 votes. So with half the turnout, because it is not a competitive primary, those who showed up specifically to vote uncommitted against Joe Biden are dramatically overrepresented. This number of uncommitted votes with 2020's turnout would have been like 6.5% rather than 13. So this is not to say anything about how much those uncommitted voters care about X, Y, or Z or anything like that. It's just a reminder that without a competitive primary, it leaves the door open for any sort of activist group to be overrepresented because most voters didn't. Half of those who voted last time didn't even come out because it's essentially an uncontested primary. So Super Tuesday next week, 18 states and territories are going to hold primaries or caucuses. Nikki Haley says she's going to stick it out at least through that point in time. Whether she would be mathematically eliminated after Super Tuesday is still an open question. If she can get 40% in most Super Tuesday states, my math is that Nikki Haley would still not be mathematically eliminated and would have justification to stay in. Whether she will or won't remains to be seen. As the host of this show and also a consumer of news in general, one reliable source of record that I have turned to is the Washington Post, and they're one of today's sponsors, letting you subscribe for just 50 cents per week. The Washington Post just helps me go deeper on the news that matters most. Their journalists bring facts and clarity about what's happening in DC, the economy, climate change, foreign policy, things I care about. I have always used the Washington Post to prepare for the David Pakman Show. It's a news outlet that is quality and provides fact-based reporting. And whether it's breaking news updates or comprehensive political and international coverage, thought-provoking opinion, dinner recipes, if that's what you want, a Washington Post subscription has something for every type of news reader. They bring stories that explain the world, teach you something, inspire you. A Washington Post subscription makes it easy to access quality, trustworthy journalism, and it's affordable too. Go to WashingtonPost.com/Pakman to subscribe for just 50 cents per week for your first year. That is 80% better than their typical offer. It's an amazing deal, and the link is down below.